Hello, universe. Welcome to my world. Angelina Jordan, at the age of 17, already has had a career which has spanned 10 years. And in those 10 years, she's sung 200 songs. 95% of them are covers. Some of them are very well known, and some of them are not so well known. And today we're going to look at one of the songs which Angelina has covered, which is not that well known. It is the 1973 song from Demis Roussos, the Greek singer, called Forever and Ever. This song is not so well known. It was very big in Europe, but I'm not sure it really traveled across the Atlantic. So some of you may not know this song. And to introduce this song, let's go to Argentina and meet Henry Durán. And he does a version very true to the original, where he really makes the sound booming and he really fills out the song.
Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be the one that shines in me like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my spring, my rainbows and the sun I see.
Next, we're going to Holland and we're going to meet De Witten. And he does a version accompanied by some very fine dancers.
Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be the one that shines in me like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my spring, my rainbows and the song I sing.
And when we meet Demi Mara, he's a Greek singer. And his version is very, very smooth. I reckon that for Greeks, this song is almost like a national anthem. And he pours his heart and soul into his singing of this.
Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be the one that shines on me like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my spring, my rainbows in, and the song that I sing.
Unusually, we're going to now hear a couple of folk versions. You would not think that this song would be accessible to folk, but have a listen. And both of these versions are British. First, we're going to hear King Creosote. They're a Scottish band, and if you listen very carefully, the Scottish accent does come through a bit with the vocals. And then when we hear Flo Morrissey, who's based in London, she makes a very unusual choice with the lighting. She puts the sunlight strongly on the blossoming tree rather than herself. A very English choice.
Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be the one that shines on me like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my spring, my rainbows and the song I sing.
Take me far beyond imagination. You're my dream come true, my consolation. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my dream, my symphony, my own lover's theme.
Next, we're going to Indonesia, and we're meeting Prana Citra. His is a very unusual version. He makes full use of the backing track Again, he has a very full booming sound. And he has a very unusual background video, which doesn't quite match anything. Now we've come to the original. We've come to Demis Roussos. In fact, we've come to him twice. We're going to hear two versions of him singing the song. First one with the original in 1973, and then we're going to hear his performance in 2000, 27 years later. It's very, very interesting to visit a singer who performs it with a massive gap and to see what happens over the years. Probably one of the most famous transitions over time is with a Mr. Bob Dylan. In 1965, he released his phenomenal album, Blonde on Blonde, which was even mentioned when he received the Nobel Prize for Literature. And one of the main songs from that album was Desolation Row. When he performed it in 1966, you can hear how his phrasing and the lyrics carry the song as opposed to his pure vocal talent. But when we hear his performance 34 years later, his vocals are very, very different.
Cinderella, she seems so easy. It takes one to know when she smiles and puts her hands into her back pocket, Betty Davis style. And in comes Romeo, he's moaning.
The sending postcards of the hanging. The painting of passports of brown. Beauty parlors filled with sailors. The circus is in town.
And unusually, when we hear Jefferson Airplane and Grace Slick, in 1969, she appeared in Woodstock, and she gave a wonderful performance. And 47 years later, 2016 in Hollywood, she performed the same song again, and she hasn't lost that much. Amazing. I have no explanation of why this should be.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You gotta find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You gotta find somebody to love.
Now, to get to our featured song, Demis Roussos in 1973, he gives the big, powerful, standard original version, which fills the room when he sings. And we can also hear his remarkable vibrato. But 27 years later, in 2000, he doesn't quite have the same power to his voice. He still carries the tune just perfectly, but it does sound really like a different singer.
Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be the one that shines on me like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever, you'll be my spring, my rainbow's end, and the song I
Finally, we have come to Angelina Jordan. We have such an opposite view of the spectrum because here, at the age of 7, she hasn't quite fully grown into her voice. The big booming voice that we've heard with a couple of these versions is not quite what Angelina has, but we can hear her raw talent and her enthusiasm and her sincerity when she sings the song as well. And let us not lose sight of the fact that it takes great courage for a 7-year-old to tackle a song as difficult as this. She is accompanied on the piano as well as with Egil Clausen on the guitar.
Ever and ever, forever and ever you'll be the one that shines only like the morning sun. Ever and ever, forever and ever you'll be my spring, my rainbow, and the song I sing. Take me far beyond imagination. You're my dream come true, my consolation.
Other times we've looked at the same song from Angelina with a 5 or 10 year gap, and we've seen her massive development and we see how her voice has matured and filled out. But here she is, only 7 years old, and at the very start of her vocal development. It's only been 10 years, but Angelina already has had a remarkable career, and it goes in directions we cannot possibly anticipate, and all of us who follow her are very excited about her trajectory. We will continue to follow her career, hopefully over many years to come. Okay, gang, I'm out of here. I'll catch you later. Bye.